Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
How you doing, Queen?
Oh, wait, hold on. I don't know which one. They both say the same thing. I'm so good. How you doing?
I'm doing good, girl. And hello, Divas and friends. Thank you for tuning in to yet again another episode of In the Divas. And we're so happy that you guys are here and able to essentially join in on the conversation with us. We have a lot that we're going to get to tonight. It seems like we always got a lot to talk about, but you try to squeeze in a lot in 30 minutes. But we're going to talk about everything from the new updates in the Breonna Taylor investigation to Brandy versus Monica, to paying homage to no other than Chadwick Boseman, as well as some of these celebrity secrets that have been happening over the last 48 to 72 hours, where it's just like, wait, what is happening? But before we get into all that, of course, we have to do our check-ins. We're going to check in with you guys. And then, Kayla, I'm going to check in with you. How are you?
I'm doing good, girl. Can't complain. Feel good. Glad the week is almost over. 2 more days. But yeah, I can't complain. How are you doing, girl?
I'm doing good, girl. I'll be honest. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the show this week, but, after talking with you and, just seeing everything that's happening, I felt like we just had to come on here and just, talk a little bit, even if we just like chuck it up, laugh, have a good time. We all need that right now. And I just want you guys to make sure that, you're just being kind to one another. You never know what someone's going through. You never know what battle that they're facing. And you just don't know what's going on mentally or physically. So let's just be kinder to one another. And just really try to be cautious of what it is that we say before actually, thinking about it. Yeah. So to jump into our first topic, and I feel like when we talk about Breonna Taylor, I just feel like, number one, when is this girl going to get justice? And number two, how long are we going to, how long are we going to keep having this conversation before another hashtag appears? Right. We're just coming off of Jacob Blake, and we haven't even had any justice for Breonna Taylor as of yet. But right now, some of the most recent updates are that her boyfriend, the one who was taken into custody the night that everything had happened, he's actually filing a $10.5 million lawsuit against the police department because he said he fears for his life, which we completely understand. Yeah. But he was just saying that, he has a right to a firearm, and he is going with the stand your ground law. He said that he was in his apartment. The police did not announce themselves before they decided to bust through and start shooting. And he just feels as though everything about it was completely botched, and he is in the right to essentially file this lawsuit.
Yeah.
And not only is that happening, but then more details are starting to come out about how they were reaching out to, other people who were involved in this whole drug trafficking scandal, and Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend that she was with, who was a known drug dealer, but she completely severed all ties with him. And they essentially wanted to coerce him or coax him into saying that Breonna had some dealings with his entire organization. And he's coming out and saying, like, that is not true. Like, I would never mention her. She had absolutely no involvement with what I did, what was going on. And he was like, I would never do that to her, right, just because they wanted to offer him a plea deal. So my thing is, if you did nothing wrong, or if you felt like you guys were in the right, and I'm addressing the police station when I say this, and the police official, everybody that's involved in this, if you felt like what you did was the right thing, why are you doing so much to try to cover up your tracks or to try to convict this Black woman who was an EMT sleeping in her bed?
And at this point, just let her rest in peace. Like, give her just due. Okay, pay her some respect, because that's the one thing y'all aren't doing, is respecting her name at all. I mean, at what lengths do you have to go to prove that this lady, she's not a villain? Quit trying to villainize her.
Mhm.
Like, that's the first thing. And quit trying to, make mountains when there's no need for mountains.
Right.
That's not the right thing, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
mountains out of molehills. Yeah.
thank you. You get me? I'm tired. I'm sorry. But quit. I guess the main thing is just stop villainizing her. Like, I'm so tired of that. Like, she was a person. She was a human being.
Right.
She's someone's daughter, niece, granddaughter, cousin. Stop.
Exactly.
Just do the right thing. Like, you're wrong. And say that you're wrong. Like, have some accountability. Y'all F up just like we do. Y'all are humans. You say you're wrong.
And that's the thing, because they were so blatantly wrong, because they know that they completely effed up. Like, this was the most botched situation, but because they don't want to, essentially admit that they're wrong, they're going to do everything, like, Vincent said, essentially they need to cover up to let the cops off of the hook. They're not going to admit and say, hey, we were wrong. We are so sorry. That never should have happened. We did not announce ourselves before we decided to bust into this door. We were at the wrong location. We were just downright wrong. Instead, they had their representative speaking at the, Republican convention, and the police officers are on vacation because nobody wants to admit that they were wrong. And they're doing the usual, what I call the first 48, where they try to take someone and be like, okay, well, let's try to take this person and get them to snitch, or let's try to get this person and plant something in them to get them to place the blame on somebody else. You're not going to, like, this is just completely and blatantly wrong. It's clear that you guys are in the wrong, and it's clear that you are ignoring any sort of justice for this girl, because you're just hoping that we forget. You're hoping that the protests stop. You're hoping that, eventually we don't bring any more attention to it, but it's going to keep going.
Yes.
It's going to keep going. The protests are continuing. Even if they're not televised, they're still going on. And I need them to realize that if they just did the right thing, everything would stop.
Hello.
You see how that works? Like,
yeah. Do the right thing. Just do the right thing. Spike Lee said it.
Do the right thing. But we can't do that. So, of course, we don't want you guys to stop in this fight for Breonna Taylor. So if you have the time, which most of us do, make sure that you keep calling, keep writing those emails, and just keep her name alive, because there's no reason for us to forget this, because this could have easily been someone that we know. Breonna Taylor looks like any Black girl that is in our family, any friend, any type of sisterhood that we had. So please, please take a moment, send those letters, send those emails, make those phone calls to make these people accountable, period.
Yes, girl.
But to move on to a lighter note here, wait, first of all, before we even put this up here, let's make sure that we spell Brandy's name right. Brandy versus Monica. If you guys are following the whole versus battle, the whole universe that Swiss Beats and Timbaland has created, this was a long-awaited battle that everyone was waiting for, where, the R&B songstresses of the 90s essentially came together and put up their best hits, and they did not disappoint. They brought in about 1.2 million viewers. It was record-breaking. I think that was the most viewers that Versus had ever seen. And then they even had Kamala Harris make a special, appearance. And I think you said, Kayla, they broke numbers as far as getting people registered.
Yes, they got over 350,000 people registered to vote just by her. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Kamala. Vote. You want to vote on this? Vote for real.
Hello. This is what happens when you use your platform for a bigger purpose. So if you know that you are bringing in these viewers, if you know that you're going to have predominantly a young Black audience who's going to be watching, use your platform to make sure that people are doing the right thing, which is getting registered to vote and preparing to vote in this upcoming election. But with that being said, girl, who do you think won?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I completely forgot about it.
Ooh.
Didn't really tune in until it was like, I don't know, already an hour in. So I think I missed some of my favorite songs, but the songs that I truly wanted to hear, I heard in the end. I say it was a tie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sorry, that was a really ugly face, but to me, it was a tie. I feel like they both brought everything to the table. All the commercial hits, they topped it off. They finished it with The Boy Is Mine. And let's be honest, everybody wanted to hear that,
That's
them sing that. And it was like, oh, this is real cute. Y'all had a little sister moment, little kumbaya, instead of all this like beef that they've carried on for 2 decades. And it's like, was y'all really even beefing over anything for real? But, whatever.
and that's, I mean, anybody who is well versed in whatever beef or whatever history that these two had, please let me know. I mean, because I'm pretty sure at one point I knew about it, but we're all adults now. And I really don't care. So, I just wanted to make sure that these two could come together and just do something dope. But like I was telling, a friend of mine, a mutual friend of ours, Monica got a lot of flack. And she got a lot of flack because they felt like she was carrying this attitude of, I didn't want to be there, like she just was kind of like playing things off. I do think Brandy was throwing some shade. There was definitely shade coming from both parts there.
Yes.
But everyone kept saying like, well, Monica just, looked like she wasn't engaged. She was just completely over it. But two things here. My thing is, we all know how Monica is. Monica is hood, period. Like, she is not someone that is going to hide or try to sugarcoat how she feels. So if she wasn't feeling Brandy, then she may not have been feeling Brandy. But the thing is, she showed up, she played her music, she played along. If she wasn't being buddy and overly, affectionate, like, hey girl, I love you, Black Queen, all stuff like the Jill Scott and Erykah Badu verses. That wasn't happening there. Sorry.
Right.
But my thing is, why do we have to make people essentially do something that, that she don't want? If she doesn't want to be that type of nice boo kitty type, why does she have to do that? Like, she showed up, she played her music, she was cordial. And from what I saw in the photos, her and Brandy seemed to have been getting along, especially off camera. They were laughing and joking with one another. But it's almost like we always have to try to pit Black women against each other. Of course.
And I think a lot of that stemmed too from their record labels. I mean, they started essentially at the same time. Mm-hmm. But I think Brandy always had a head up on her because she had her show and she always had the bigger features. And I mean, her mom really packaged her well. I'll say that. Her mom could easily be like the early Kris Jenner. She knew how to market the hell out of Brandy and Ray J. You hear me?
Hello.
It was in everything back in the day.
Hello. So I mean, she may have been at an unfair advantage, but that does not take away Monica's career. We loved Monica's music. She definitely was good for a good bop, whenever she would drop one. And it was just good to hear some of the songs that we had forgotten. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the last time I listened to a Monica track was maybe when it came on the radio. Like, I never really was an avid listener. I'm not an avid listener of Brandy. Like, I like a few of her songs, but I'm not going to say I'm a gung-ho fan. But it was nice to be able to get that nostalgia, to think like, oh, that was my jam. Like, I want to be there.
Hello. Can I get the Brandy braids, please? Right. Like, keep my edges intact.
Right. But it was just nice to be able to forget, just for a second, everything that was going on in the world, from the police shootings to racial injustice to, the rioting, everything like that. It was just nice to be able to see Black girl joy, first of all.
Yes.
To see Black women play the music that we love and know so well. And then to be able to collectively come together and have music bind us like it usually, always does.
Yeah.
So instead of looking at those positives there, I kind of got irritated with people who were trying to essentially make it a bad thing of like, well, she don't look like she wants to be there, or I don't understand why Monica got to do this. Why is she dressed like? Why is she doing it? Why can't we just focus on the music and just have a good time? Please. And I do agree. My mom always said it from the beginning of time that Monica just didn't really have good people behind her, because Monica had the voice, she definitely had the book, but I just don't think that her people were good.
Yeah. She could have had a little bit, just better representation. Maybe more publicity would have helped her. And it's always hard when you come out when two females come out at the same time. And it happens all the time. Like every couple of years, it's like either Brandy and Monica or Brittany and Christina. Like if you coming out at the same time, one's going to be better than the other.
Exactly. And I mean, speaking of Brittany and Christina, I would love to see that versus. I am here.
Girl.
I'm also here for NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. I need that
dance moves.
Brittany's in some legal trouble right now, so we're going to let her handle that. But I definitely need an NSYNC and Backstreet Boys versus. But I do feel like this is something that's just for the culture right now. Like, let us have something before we try to jump and give into let's try to invite other people along. No, we got way too many Black artists that we can have go up against one another. That just let us have our thing for a little bit, just for a little bit. And I did hear that Keisha Cole and Ashanti are supposed to be the next battle.
Oh, baby. Okay.
You know my thoughts on that, but we're not going to get into that. We are going to bring it, just bring it to a sad moment for a second. We have been greatly affected by the death of Chadwick Boseman. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard by now. He had endured a 4-year battle with colon cancer while essentially doing some of his greatest works, one of them being Black Panther. And now, this past weekend, his body had given in to his battle. He did release a video a couple weeks ago where he was appearing a little thin. A lot of people were speculating and saying different things and making jokes about, his appearance and how he looked. But come to find out, he was battling an illness that no one knew about.
Right.
Hadn't said anything. His wife hadn't said anything, which we later found out that he was secretly married to his long-term girlfriend. But just to see that this man had endured through all of that and just kept pressing on, still had a smile on his face, still had light in his heart, still had jokes, still was being a good person to friends and family. There's just a lot to take away from this. And it's also sad because, he was our Black Panther. He was,
Hello.
Yes. He was our Black Panther. But how did it affect you, Kay?
I think for me personally, these deaths have been really hard in 2020. Mm-hmm. I feel like we've lost two great pioneers almost in a sense. Kobe Bryant and his daughter, obviously at the beginning of the year, and now Chadwick Boseman. And I feel like Chadwick Boseman was the epitome of a true thespian. Mm-hmm. He's given us some of the titans in African-American history, Black culture. And he made us forget that he was Chadwick Boseman. Like when we watched films like 42, when he's portraying Jackie Robinson, or Little Richard, not Little Richard, I'm sorry, I apologize. James Brown. And get on up. Like you really was like, oh my God, this is James Brown. Mm-hmm. This is not Chadwick Boseman. And then when he brought us Black Panther, it was like, wow, an actual superhero that African-American children can look up to and see themselves in. And it was like, wow, I'm loving that we get to see representation. We get to see African culture. We get to see everything that brings Black people joy. Black people should be celebrated. And we have a beautiful, tragic culture, but it's our culture nonetheless. And I feel like what Ryan Coogler did in that film was he gave us everything, what dreams are made of, and it was like, here y'all go.
Right, definitely. And I wholeheartedly agree, because just the excitement behind Black Panther, like when we first saw the trailer or the promos for it, and just knowing like February, like this is coming out. It was so refreshing because we finally got to see a person play a role that wasn't a slave, that, you know, wasn't abused, or, you know, wasn't a drug dealer, or
Right.
wasn't any of that negative stereotypes that we always see. We got to see a superhero, you know, forever. You had children and, you know, girls alike, who also, you know, love DC and Marvel. We're looking at superheroes who are predominantly white male. You know, we're looking at Batman, we're looking at Superman, we're looking at Spider-Man, and it's just like you never really saw yourself. But to see not only Chadwick be this strong black man, but then to have an army of strong black women behind him, like, it was so dope. Like,
Yes.
finally,
Yes. Yes.
you know? And to know that he was a part of that movement, how involved he was with the casting, how involved he was with, you know, just making sure that he got down the right dialect and he wasn't lazy about it. He had put his all into that role because he knew how important it was and how much it meant to a lot of us. And there was even a interview that he had did with Sirius XM a while back when he was saying, you know, he had two fans that he communicated with, you know, regularly, and little did we know he was dropping hints about his illness. But they were, they had suffered from, I can't remember what form of cancer it was, but he would communicate with them regularly. And he was saying that their one wish was to see Black Panther on the screen. Like, they were trying their best to hold on just so they could see it. You know, unfortunately, they had passed, but to know that he was doing everything possible to make sure that that role, you know, was what we needed so badly. You know, right. I mean, he's a phenomenal actor. Phenomenal.
He really was. He really was. And just to know too that film broke down so many barriers. I mean, it made so much money in the Marvel universe. Not only that, but it brought it and it took it and upped the ante. It was like, oh, and we're also getting nominated for Academy Awards, which has never been done. Never. No Marvel, no DC, no action movie for that to be said, but wow, like, to just think, like, hold on to that, like, yes, black, yes, I am black, I am Black Panther, we did it.
And to see the things that people were saying about him. I mean, I do know that it took a while for some people to process and then to actually speak up and say something, because he was so secretive. He didn't let anyone know what was happening with him, because even Spike Lee, like, I follow him, and he was essentially sharing some of the footage that didn't make it into the Five Bloods on Netflix, where Chadwick was singing and, you know, doing monologues and all different types of stuff. And someone had asked him, like, Spike, did you know? And he was like, no one knew. We did not have a clue. But everyone seemed to have this same consensus of, you know, he was just extremely intelligent. He was kind. He was patient. You know, he was always reading, or he was always studying. He was that great actor that everyone wanted to work with, you know, and just the love that is pouring out from these people, from Ryan Coogler to Michael B. Jordan, you know, from Spike Lee and Denzel Washington and Sterling K. Brown, you know, just to see how everyone had been touched or affected by him in some sort of way.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing. And you just hope that in doing that, you create a legacy where you can be remembered in a positive light. You know, and I hope that that is a lesson to people, just to know, like, you know, create your legacy. It doesn't have to be about riches or fame, but essentially how you make people feel, you know? And I think that's what made him so great to everyone, because they just said that he was essentially a ray of light for them. Now, when we talk about people who pay homage, you always got that one. There's always that one. Now, y'all know what I'm talking about. When somebody passes away and you're preparing for the funeral, there's always somebody who makes death about them, and it has nothing to do with them, but they're going to try to make it about them. This person happens to be Omari Hardwick. And needless to say, wait, Kayla, let's take that down. Let's take that down, because they're not ready for the tweets just yet. Let's give them the backstory. Needless to say, Omari Hardwick took Chadwick's death as a moment and an opportunity to try to make it about him. And I still don't understand why, but Kayla, can you just give us a little bit of what he felt the need to put out there to everybody?
Yeah, I'll just briefly try to paraphrase this. Long story short, I believe this was last year. Amari had won an NAACP award for Power on Stars. Okay, as we all know, Power has now come to an end, and we're moving on to new chapters. But anyway, Amari decided to take this opportunity to talk about him winning at the NAACP awards and how Chadwick was like, "Yo, man, you got this. You did this." And Amari then wanted to say, well, we were supposed to work on a movie. We never got to work on a movie, but I'm going to make sure, Chad, you was always my competition. In what way? I can't name anything other than Power that Amari Hardwick has done. So we're not even in the same book. We're not even orbiting around the same planet right now. What are you talking about?
Anyone who knows me, first of all, I don't watch Power unless it's on and somebody else is watching it. It's not my thing. I'm not really into it. Not to say that it's not a good show, because obviously it is, because everyone was here for it every Sunday night when it came on. But Omari, even if you felt that way, even if you thought in your mind that this man who was portraying historical Black figures while you are portraying a club owner and a drug dealer, was your competition, your direct competition, like right here, save that for another time. The world is mourning right now. Like, we as Black people are feeling a little bad because we just lost our Black superhero. We don't need you to come out of nowhere and talk about how you felt as though you were the next big thing. We don't need that. We don't need that. So needless to say, after he wrote this long message on social media that essentially was about him, he got dragged for filth. And when I say for filth, I think every Black person who had a Twitter handle had something to say about Omari. Now, Kayla, bring that back up. The fact that someone said Omari Hardwick played City Bus Passenger number 3 in Poetry video in 2002 and thinks he's competition. The fact that he thinks he is on the same level proves he's delusional. I know Omari ain't playing a drug dealer and a coffee shop owner and trying to think he's somebody's competition. The fact that he was being selfish. And they even went in and said that he is Walmart 2 for $5 Ben movie making ass. Like, people were upset. We don't have time for you, Omari Hardwick. Okay? It's not about you. It's not about you.
Did you see Vince's message?
Huh?
I'm going to put it up.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he did lose out on a role, but it's not about you right now, baby. It's not about you. Okay? So take those thoughts, those feelings, those emotions, or whatever so-called conversation that Chadwick had with you that I don't believe was actually had, because Chadwick's not here to defend himself and say, I ain't say that. Write it out in a journal somewhere. Store it deep within yourself, because right now, we don't have time for you.
Right.
We are mourning his loss. Okay. Yes, someone did call him that. Someone called him out of his name, because we don't have time for you, Omari. We don't. Okay. There's always somebody that has to make death about them. But anyway, let's move on because we're running out of time here. We need to talk about these celebrity secrets that have been happening. I don't know about you guys, Kayla. I don't know about you. Did you know that Niecey Nash was engaged, let alone going to be married to Jessica Betts, a singer?
Girl, no. I mean, I was shocked. Like, the last I knew, she was divorcing her husband. But I had no idea. It's not like, we seen photos of her and Jessica, like, oh, boom, she's married. And it's a girl. Like, it's like, oh, an avocado, thanks. Like, I didn't know.
I saw the message on, I think it was Monday, And I was just scrolling through Instagram, and I'm like, oh, okay, she's getting ready to release some promo footage, or for Claws, because it's highly
Right.
anticipated. We're waiting for the final season, so I'm just scrolling through, and I'm like, okay. But then I noticed her caption says, "Miss Carol Denise Betts, love wins with the rainbow," and then she also tags a photographer in it. So I reach out to my fellow, friends who are on top of it when it comes to social media and everything current that is happening. They had no idea either. Everyone is shocked. Mason, be quiet. Everyone is shocked. Girl, what? Like, first of all, let me just say this here. Whatever you do in your bedroom is your business. It does not affect me in any type of way. It does not affect my bills, my job, nothing like that. But girl, couldn't you have given us like a little hint, like just a little something? I mean, because here I am still thinking that she was still going through this divorce, but I'm guessing it was finalized. Is that true?
Yes, supposedly it was just recently finalized. Like, I don't know if this was like a day before the marriage, or her wedding to Jessica, or if this is like something that happened afterwards. But yeah, it's all pretty fresh.
Well, if you guys can remember, she was with Jay. What was his last name?
Jay Thomas? Was it Jay Thomas?
I think
Jay Taylor.
Whatever. I mean, he's a non-factor now.
Yeah.
Non-factor now. Because she'd have moved on. But we all know that they were featured in Black Love, and she was talking about how she was just, excited for him and, for their love and everything like that. And I was cheering for them, rooting for them. Then, unfortunately, it ended up in divorce because I think there was some talk or some whispers about how he was essentially jealous about her sex scenes in her show Claws. But we all know that there could be other reasons for why it led to a divorce. But Niecey, girl. I mean, I know it's hard out here for a pimp. I get it, because there are some men out here that just make you be like, you know what, I'm done, I'm over it. But I had no idea that there was any interest that she was going to jump over to the other side. But you know what, baby, look, whatever works for you. If you are happy, we wish you well. We wish both of you nothing but, good luck, positive vibes, and good energy. But it makes me also raise the question of, do you think celebrities are becoming more secretive because either they don't want to block their blessing, or they just don't want to hear what the general public has to say?
I almost feel like maybe it's a little of the latter, because if you think about it, like, we're in a pandemic, everyone's at home. Everyone's at home trolling. Like, people have nothing but free time at this point. So I don't know. I mean, because if you think about it, there aren't paparazzi out anymore. You know, they're not lurking on street corners no more trying to get a flick. So I don't know. Maybe 50.
Yeah. I mean, you raise a good point that, people don't have anything to do. So the trolling has increased. And it's sad that people can't celebrate their love or celebrate who they are or what it is that they're going through without being, teased or ridiculed or judged. Because, I mean, we look what happened with Chadwick. He was trying to talk about something positive, and people immediately went to, well, why do you look that way? Not knowing that he was battling an illness. So even in Niecey's case, it's like, I'm pretty sure she has already gotten the backlash of, okay, this is your second divorce. I don't know if she was she married to the person? Okay. This is your second divorce. Now you're going into a third marriage, and it's with a woman. Girl, what's going on? And then it's also none of our business. It's none of our business. If she wanted to sleep with every single man and or woman in Hollywood, that is her business. We don't pay her bills. She doesn't pay our bills. So, it is what it is. But I was not expecting that. That was my shock factor. And I also wasn't expecting the second tidbit of information that you laid on to me earlier this week too.
Girl, Usher got a baby on the way. Didn't know.
Listen, didn't even know he was in a relationship.
Nope.
I mean, he's 41. I think she's 37. This is her first child. From what we have read or what I have read is that they have been together since October of 2019.
Yes.
And have been spotted here and there. But I mean, I'm gonna just rip the Band-Aid off. So does he have herpes? I mean, has that been confirmed? Because I felt like it was.
Yes, it was. It was. We all seen Homegirl at the conference. She was shaking and rattled. Usher gave me herpes. Like, what? Run that back.
I mean, you know, I just. Once again, Niecey Nash situation. I don't know what to say. I am shocked. What? You know what? But congratulations. Good for him. This will be his third child. But I have a lot of questions. But once again, as we said with Niecey Nash, it's none of our business. Business. Whatever happens with him and this woman is, good for them. But the biggest thing that just comes to me is I could have sworn we had a whole scandal. And we just gonna sit here and act like that did not happen, or what?
Girl.
Whatever. So anyway, we gotta go because we're going over on our time, but we cannot thank you guys enough. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining in on the chat. Make sure you guys like and share, and make sure you just have a prayer. Make sure that you are being kind and just spreading some sort of positivity, because Lord knows we need it, especially in this day and age, especially during these COVID times. We just need some sort of positivity, some sort of just kindness, something to look forward to, because we've already been drained. I don't know about y'all, but I mean, this year has been completely draining. And also, if you guys have not seen, if you're following us on Instagram, we are challenging y'all to do the Jaguar step. Like, we attacked it. We did it. Posted out there for y'all to see. But we want to see what you guys can do. We want to see your videos. We want to see some positivity. We want to see some fun. We want to see Black joy. And we even want to invite our white allies and brothers and sisters. Y'all go ahead, come on and join us as well. Join in on the fun. We just want to see people have a good time, laugh, and dance. That's it. So follow us in the Divas Den, in the Divas Den TV on Instagram. If you guys want to see the video, take your time. Go ahead, get your steps, do your do-wop, bop, bop. Go ahead and upload it and let us see it. All right?
Yes.
All right, we love y'all. Be kind. Be kind. And we will see y'all next week. Bye.